Student groups are used to compare student data with their peers. These groups can always be added or changed later, even after students have already taken the CDTs. To create a student group, click on Student Groups under Test Setup. The top half of the page is meant to find student groups that you have already created. To make a new student group, scroll to the bottom and click Add Student Group. You should always start your group name with your last name to make it easier to find. Other characteristics are more for your sake to keep things organized. After naming your group, make sure your name is listed as the teacher associated with that group. The next step is to find the students you wish to add to the group. Notice that if you click Find Students, no students will be found. Although these are your students, as far as the program is concerned, you're not connected to them just yet, so make sure the teacher is left to All under the search criteria. You may enter as much search criteria as you want, but usually searching by last name or grade level is the easiest. Once you've entered the search criteria, click Find Students or simply hit Enter. Click your student's name and then the single right arrow to add them to your group. Repeat this process until all of your students have been added. Once you've added all your students, don't forget to save your work. Test sessions are used to set up each individual test. It's important to set these up by periods. To create a test session, click on Test Sessions under Test Setup. The top half of the page is meant to find test sessions that you've already created. To make a new test session, scroll to the bottom and click Add Session. You should always start your session name with your last name to make it easier to find. Other characteristics are more for your sake to keep things organized. Don't forget to label which test number it is. After naming your session, make sure to select the appropriate content, assessment, and teacher. Don't worry about changing the dates. The next step is to find the students you wish to add to the test session. You may enter as much search criteria as you want, but if you've already created a student group, selecting that option is usually the easiest. Once you've entered the search criteria, click Find Students or simply hit Enter. Click your students and then the single right arrow to add them to your test session. Once you've added all your students, don't forget to save your work. When it comes to giving the CDTs the second or third time, you can save yourself some time by simply copying a previous test session. To do this, click Test Sessions under Test Setup. Search and find your previous test session. Click on the copy icon to the right of the test session name, and simply change the name to denote which test number students are on. Don't forget to check the content area, assessment, and teacher. If you've had newly enrolled students since the last time you gave the CDTs, don't forget to add them to both your new test session and your student group. Once you're done, don't forget to save your work. There are 4 things that you will have to check on before having students begin the test. Be sure to show students a tutorial video of how to use the program in class the day before. Print student test tickets. Unlock tests if students are continuing their work from a previous day. And the most important is to check the computers first to make sure the program is actually installed on them. You may have to restart each computer before the program actually shows up. Click General Information under Test Setup. Next, click the tab for Test Tutorials. And under Action, click the icon to the right of Pennsylvania Online Assessment Student Tutorials. This may take a few minutes to load. Under Classroom Diagnostic Tools, select the appropriate content and assessment. While each section can be accessed separately, it is best to play all of them the first time. Don't forget that you can pause and replay sections as needed to reinforce important details. Click Test Sessions under Test Setup. Search and find your test sessions. Click the printer icon to print all student test tickets. Once they have printed, simply cut each ticket and distribute to students on testing day. Be sure to remind students that their passwords are case sensitive. Students will use the same username and password if continuing the test the next day. However, different passwords will be generated for different test numbers. If a student is continuing their test the next day, you will have to unlock their test before they are granted access to it. To unlock a test, click on Test Sessions under Test Setup. Search and find your test sessions. Click the checkbox next to the test sessions that you wish to unlock. Next, scroll to the bottom of the page and click Unlock Selected. The program will ask you to confirm your decision.